Hey, YouTube and Instagram, manga and anime aficionados. I am very excited to come to y'all and give a review on 3 manga that I have the pleasure of reading. This first one is Demon Sacred, and I purchased this at Half Price Books. I found that they were 3 volumes, and after further research, I found there was one more volume that I was able to pick up on eBay. This is a short vintage manga. And when I say vintage, to me, it has that nostalgia look to it, an older series, and it's a short series. And yeah, it's just one of those older series. I think this is from, shoot, let me check. I think this like 2000s. Usually they have the year in here. 2010, yeah, 2010. So not terribly old, but nonetheless. So you have let's see, a mysterious disturbing disease called return syndrome, causing one to physically regress towards infancy, and eventually death sweeps across the land. When Rena is infected with this rare disease, her sister Mona will go far beyond human means to save her. And when the Inhumans come in such gorgeous packaging, it might be hard to resist. Join Mona and K2, Rena, Mika, and Shinobu as they fight against return syndrome, dark company secrets, and enemies both human and inhuman. So, yeah, that's pretty much what it's about. And so, I love this is, oh, let me look at the names. Rena. So Rena and Mona. So Mona, and this is Mika. And so it's quite interesting, the dynamic between the characters. I love the storyline. I think that she is drawn so beautifully throughout the story, and of course the guys are going to be good looking. I like the storyline. They even have some idol in it as well, and that fandom of that. And so, which I have been getting more interested in since reading Yakuza Bias, and also Oshinoko. So yeah, and so this has a little bit of an idol angle to it as well, but I really enjoy it. It's serious with hints of comedy in it, a comedy relief. The storyline goes together really great. It's an interesting take on demons that I had never read before, and I really wish it was more than 4 volumes. The relationships develop pretty quickly, and it doesn't feel rushed, but you get into the groove pretty quick. I hate a manga that, or even a book that it takes me, I have to read almost half of it to get into it. But I got into this fairly quickly. I like the guys that are, this particular guy is very mysterious. One minute you think he's a bad guy, next thing you think he's a good guy, and he just keeps surprising you. And she develops, you see how she develops very quickly, because she's not the most mature as her twin sister, but she becomes mature with the responsibilities that she's given. But I love this manga. I'm so glad I was able to get it. And I have 1 through 3, and I had volume 4 I had to purchase online from eBay. So I'm really glad to have this added to my collection. Next up is a popular one, Banana Fish. Now, back to what I was saying earlier about not liking manga that I have to read a lot of to get into it. Okay, so Banana Fish is pretty much, we know what Banana Fish is. You have nature made Ash Lux beautiful. Nurture made him a cold, ruthless killer, a runaway brought up as the adopted heir and sex toy of crime lord Papa Dino Golazin. Ash, now at the rebellious age of 17, forsakes the kingdom held out by the devil who raised him. But the hideous secret that drove Ash's older brother, Matt, in Vietnam, was suddenly fallen into Papa's insatiable, ambitious hands, and it's exactly the wrong time for AJ and Okamura, Okamura, a pure-hearted young photographer from Japan, to make Ash Lex's acquaintance. And I'm probably butchering a lot of things in that, but yeah. I I thought that this was, it just didn't make sense to me. It just didn't. So you got this guy who's in a gang. He has his own little gang, and then yet he's like taken in by this guy who is like a drug lord or some kind of crime lord raised, and then his brother was in Vietnam, and at first I couldn't catch it. I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand the point. And it seems like when the, let's see, when AEG came into the picture, it didn't even make, I guess he was like, I guess it can make sense, he was doing a report, but they just let him in, and then he gets sucked into the situation. It just seems so unrealistic, and for something that's supposed to be like based on kind of like, it's not a isekai, it's not a fantasy, it's based on like the gritty streets of I think it's New York. So it's like, it seems very unrealistic in some ways, but people really say it's good, so I want to give it one more volume. I typically don't, but it's such a big a lot of people like it, and I love crime stories. I love crime stories. I like Monster. I like Goji Gold. I like I have some other ones. I like Twittering Birds Never Fly, Yakuza Lover, anything like has a crime element or a mystery element, I do enjoy. But this one, I'm not. It's not terrible. Like, if it's not terrible, but it's. I'm gonna give it one more because of its reputation. Because maybe it takes some getting into it. So yeah, that's Banana Fish. Okay, so next up is let's see here, The Great Snake's Bride 1. Okay, so for 500 years a great snake god has lived in the ancient mountain. Mio, an unlucky young woman from the nearby village, is offered as a tribute to the great snake. Mio fears that she will be devoured, but the snake treats her like a wife rather than a male. His flicking tongue vibrates through gentle words as his powerful, slithering body wraps around hers in an embrace. What does it truly mean to be the bride of a beast? Now, and this is a 7 Cs. So, I believe this is 7 Cs, right? Yeah, 7 Cs. Okay. And that matters because they tend to have very interesting stories. So, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, animal romance, animal humanoid type situations. However, the snake stays a snake. And that's what I kept hearing. I was like, okay, well, let me see how this goes. And see how I like it. Because I've never read anything. Well, let me take that back. But he did turn into a human form. Because I did read one online, a webtoon that I absolutely love, where the guy was isekai to a different world by a snake demon, and he had to be with him, and it was kind of like he was a humanoid snake back and forth, so it's a little different. This is just a snake in the forest, but as the story goes on, you see how their relationship develops. Now, in the beginning, it's, you have to go in with an open mind, but if this is not your cup of tea with the animal human fantasy, then you shouldn't read it, because it does go there, but it's not graphic in my opinion at all. Like, when I bought this, it wasn't wrapped in plastic either, and I think it's rated, what is it rated, does it have a rating on it? Yeah, it's 17 plus, but I think it's because There is romance in it, but it's not graphic to me. But it is 17 plus. Um, I like it. I think it's a really pretty romance story, and I can't wait for volume two, because once you see how, I think for me, it became really interesting and comfortable and romantic to me once she got comfortable with the idea that he was a snake. And her comfort made me comfortable. And then you start to see, okay, there was no if factor, because you could see her starting to warm up. It took a while, but the story went so good that it didn't even take me 30 minutes. It's a really great story. It's a great intro. It moved fast, but not in a bad way. I was very interested and I stayed engaged. And I'm really excited about the second volume. So I'm really glad I picked this up. And I'm excited to read the second volume. So, with that being said, we have here The Great Snake's Bride is definitely a 5 star. Banana Fish a 2.5, but because of it has a lot of great reviews, I'm going to give it a second volume. But right now, it's sitting at 2.5 stars. And I give a 5 star to Demon Sacred, because it's totally awesome. Great characters, great storyline, unique take on demons, and how they interact with humans. Really awesome. And so yeah, so those are the manga I've read this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to read your comments and your opinions. If you read any of these manga, what you think, please comment down below. Peace. Ah.